moving on to our week 4 reactions. Tulsa at home, Oklahoma State. So I think we talked about this one in the pod last week. The game actually ended while we were recording because we recorded on Friday super late. Mike Gundy just got fired today. And I think that kind of shows a little bit of the end of an era. Um, as long as I watch college football, Mike Gundy's been the coach of Oklahoma State. So that's crazy. Sad to see him get fired, but unfortunately, with the state of college football, it was time for him to go. This team was just more than abysmal. Losing to Tulsa at home, I don't know a Mike Gundy team that loses to Tulsa at home ever. And even if they have, or even if they got close at any point, I think Tulsa would probably have been a decent team, but they're bad. They're not good.
This is a team that lost to New Mexico State.
Yeah,
And this is far from the Diego Pavia, New Mexico State.
yeah. I mean, this Tulsa team is not. There's no bright spots on this team. I'm surprised they were able to win a road game, but they beat Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State just has a minimal amount of roster talent. I remember seeing this has nothing to do with roster talent, but I remember seeing a video at the beginning of the season of a bunch of Oklahoma State players doing a TikTok dance, and I mean, I'm the first one who's gonna probably hate on stuff like that. Like if you're in college playing football at a high level, whether you're sitting on the bench or you're starting, that kind of crap, I don't understand. I don't get it. I know that people of that age can still be classified as kids. I know coaches would say that, so they'll just be like, oh, they're kids, they do stupid stuff. If you're over the age of 18 and you're playing college football, I just don't know what you're doing on TikTok making videos like those guys were making.
Like,
It
how
just
did
doesn't
you
make
have
sense.
time for that as a college athlete?
And even if it only took you 5 minutes to film the video, I'm just wondering how on earth are you watching that and saying, yeah, I should post this on social media for other people to see? Like, you can do so much better stuff with your ability to influence people online that would be productive and it would be cool and interesting, but you're going to go do that. I don't understand. Leave that to the girls. I don't see why football players are doing this crap. So I just wanted to throw that in there because I saw it, and their team is now legitimately abysmal and probably will finish with 2 wins or less. So culture thing, I don't know. Probably not. Maybe could have been. But Gundy's out. Sad to see him go, but for the best. I think Oklahoma State might be the worst Power Four team.
It's really close between them and like UCLA and
Probably Stanford. You could throw them in there, but they won
well,
a
they
game.
did get that win.
They won a game against a team that's won other games too. So I know BC's not great, but they at least have an offense so they can actually move the ball. Um, they're up there. There's a real argument that can be made. They'll probably end up in our toilet bowl at the end of the season, which I think we're probably going to have to do. Just pick the worst two teams of entirety of college
They'll
football,
be in contention for sure.
and then we could like sim a game on NCAA and see who wins,
I'm
and we
down for
can
that.
claim it as the toilet bowl final. Who's the worst team actually in the country? We'll leave it up to college football 26 to tell us that, but it could be a fun idea. Kind of thinking that off the fly. So yeah, that's probably enough for that game. It was a slugfest. I think it was like 19-12. Gross game, gross football. Hate to
Just
see it, but
no
like,
talent on the field anywhere.
yeah. And I'm sure there's some, but it doesn't stick out to me.
No,
I don't
on
like to
either
be a
side.
hater because obviously I'm not a D1 athlete, but I mean, as far as football is concerned, I didn't feel like there were legitimate D1 athletes that were difference makers on that field for either team. But we're gonna move on. Florida at Miami. I think this was the result we expected for the most part. I didn't expect that poor of an offensive outing from Florida. I saw something that was like they had like 130 yards of offense or something. It was one of their worst outings in a century. I think like since like the 1930s, they haven't had an outing that bad on offense, or maybe it was like 1950s. I don't know.
Jeez.
It was just really bad, and it was at home. It was the at home outing. Like that's the worst they've played at home. No, they didn't play at home, did
They
they?
were at Miami.
They're at Miami.
Yeah,
I don't know. I can't remember what the stat was. I just know it was really bad.
worst performance in a long time.
Worst offensive performance by Florida in a long time. So it was really bad. They scored 7 points on one long drive. DJ Lagway did virtually nothing. The run game, I think they had a couple decent runs, but other than that, they just couldn't get anything going at all. Miami's defense looked incredible. I think this team in the trenches is a completely different animal this year. I don't know that people are ready to see what Miami could do. I also don't know that they're ready to see the letdown for all the people that are on the hype train. Um, there's definitely a scenario where Miami ends up being really good, and they are. And then at the end of the season, they kind of drop the ball because they got some tight games they're going to have to play. There's definitely a scenario where they lose 2 or 3 more games in this season with how their schedule plays out. But it's also more favorable than that of SEC teams. And I think that this Miami team has, if they can keep their head on their shoulders and not look ahead on their schedule, and focus on winning each week, there's a real chance they could go undefeated and be a number one or number two team in the country. I don't know. They've got the talent on defense this year, and their offense looks good enough. I don't think it's an elite offense, but it's definitely good enough. So I think we could see a lot of good things from Miami. I want to see some more quality games for them. They play, I think they play Georgia Tech and FSU soon at some
They
point.
play FSU in 2 weeks, I think it is.
That's going to be pretty
At
telling.
Florida State at night.
Yeah, we're about to see Florida State play Virginia, which should be a test, but not a huge one. Um, Going to play Miami after that will be interesting. So both of those teams will learn a lot about, but overall, I think Billy Napier is running out of time. He may already be out of time. He's just probably getting to hang around for this foreseeable season.
Florida's just been so slow to fire him though. Like I feel like they're gonna give him the rest of the year. It just seems like every passing day you're like, how is he still employed? Like it
Yeah,
just continues.
I don't know what they're going to do. We just never know what. I mean, Scott Strickland could be thinking right now. He could be already making his decision right now that he's going to be fired, and they may let him ride the bench with the team the whole season, or they may fire him tomorrow. I don't know. I don't know if that's best for the team. I think if you want to win games, you just got to keep letting the team work and try to improve over the season. And if he can't do anything, just go ahead and get him out. His record over the past like 4 seasons is significantly worse than what got Dan Mullen fired. I saw that the other day and I was like, whoa. I think Dan Mullen was like 41-20 or something like that. Billy Napier's like almost at 500. Like, it's not even close. So, if that got Dan Mullen fired, I I don't see how you can't hold the same standard for Billy
I
Napier.
just don't know what they're waiting for. I mean, their whole thing that a lot of people thought was like, oh, they got Lagway, he's gonna lead them out of this. Like, we're gonna let Napier stay because of that. But he's been crap so far. So like, what are they waiting
Yeah.
for?
I mean, they've still got, what, 8 games left on the slate. Like, narratives change.
It's just getting harder though.
It's just that's the biggest issue with this team is the schedule is brutal. This could not have happened to a team that needed it less than Florida did. Like if this had happened to I don't know, let's say Penn State just lost everything. Like James Franklin had no answer. Like kind of how Clemson is. But yeah, like Clemson is probably the best example I can think of. Their schedule is not necessarily easy, but like we were talking about at the beginning of the season with Cade Klubnik, I feel like he stat padded last year against a lot of teams, starting to prove to possibly be the case. But their schedule was manageable, and the games that mattered, they didn't win. And Florida's playing in only games that matter. They're not playing in easy games. Like you lose to USF, you lose to LSU, you lose to Miami. Miami and LSU are both top five teams right now in the AP poll. I mean, like, that's ridiculous. And then USF was a top 15 team after they beat Florida. So, I mean, the teams they've played have been really good at this point, and it just gets harder. I mean, their schedule's ridiculous. I feel bad for the school, honestly, that they have to watch their team play these games week in and week out and know that they may not win a single one. So, I think that's probably enough for Florida. We don't need to cover them anymore right now. They're pretty hopeless. Hopefully, we'll see some life in them at some point. But right now, we can only beat a dead horse so hard with Florida. They don't look good. Moving on to Illinois at Indiana. This one was probably the biggest miss we have had all season. And I know you were kind of in between Indiana and Illinois. Um, I pretty much stuck with Illinois after I made my decision and didn't really waver on it until kickoff. I didn't love this game, but at the same time, I was like, you know what? I think it's Illinois' year. I think they got something to prove. Indiana looks like they might be a little bit worse than they were last year. Give me Illinois. Yeah, that was my mindset. 63-10 was the final score. Indiana did
Nobody,
not. I mean, Illinois did not win.
nobody
Indiana
could
did.
have foresaw this. Like
No one did.
nobody.
No one foresaw this. I mean, it was not. I don't think there's a single person who even predicted Illinois to lose in a blowout. Period. And I wouldn't even call this a blowout. This was a massacre. But yeah, Indiana padlock stat. They had 300 rushing yards. Illinois had two. That's a recipe for a loss in and of itself. I mean, anytime a team runs for that many yards on another team and then holds them to significantly less, I don't really even need to see the score very often unless it's an Army game to know that the team that ran for that many more yards probably either won or was really close and they had some critical errors that lost them the game. So there's another game we're going to get to here in just a second that's very similar, but this one was a blowout. So Indiana's clearly the better team. It's not even close. There's no discussion. Huge miss on that one for us, but can't win them all. Indiana's legit. And again, Illinois could be a total paper tiger, and they may be horrible. I don't know. There's also a chance that they're not that bad. Indiana's just that stinking good. Kurt Cignetti's a proven winner. Look him up. He's got a ton of wins. He's like 15-2 all time. It's ridiculous. I don't even know. It's something ridiculous. So they're good. They recruited well. They're they remind me a lot of Arizona State, but in the Big Ten, they're just a balanced football team. But I think they got more playmakers than they did last year. Elijah Surratt is a baller. And I know he was there last year, but people kind of don't really talk about him. They have another receiver that's really solid. Yeah, name's kind of slipping my mind right now, but he's been really good too. I think it might be like Amari Cooper or something, but he's been really good. And quarterback play from Fernando Mendoza has been ridiculous. I mean, he started a little bit slow, but like, I just think that they were holding back.
2 incompletions all game to 5 touchdown passes, just absurd.
Yeah, against a was supposed to be top 10 team.
And
Give
that's
me a
like the
break.
same stuff he was doing against Indiana State, but it was Illinois this time.
Yeah, it was worse. He did worse things to Illinois than he did to anybody else all season. So I think I was pretty high on him in my quarterback rankings to start the season. I wasn't sure after the first 3 games how I felt about him. I saw a lot of good things, but I'm sold, man. He's really good. I think there's a lot of ridiculous hype around him right now. Just after this game that came out of nowhere, if you weren't on the hype train to start the season, then where's all this glaze coming from? Because nobody else had them in their top 3 quarterbacks in the Big Ten, or even top 5. So I don't know where these people are coming back like, oh, he reminds me of Josh Allen, or oh, I mean, he profiles very similarly to Zach Wilson. He's going to be a bust. Well, you don't know that. He's only played like 3 or 4 games at Indiana. So all these people coming out of the woodwork trying to be like, yeah, it was an outlier game, or oh, he's the best quarterback I've ever seen. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Watch more football, come to a conclusion later. I think he's legit, but this team as a whole has made him look really good. So that game, absolute blowout. Missed on that one, but I mean, Indiana's got a really interesting path to the playoff. We're gonna
What's
have to watch
crazy to
them.
me, especially though, is last year they had 0 top 25 wins, and then this year they get a top 10 win by 53 points.
Yeah,
I think they're
and
a better team than last year.
I
And I
think you
don't
might
know
be
if it's
right.
particularly close either.
Their D line might have been a little better last year. They stopped the run like really well, but I mean, they held Illinois to 2 yards, so maybe their run defense is better. I don't know. I just was like, there's no way they can replace the D line talent they had last year. It was just so good. They had so many run stoppers. It was just like they were so hard to run against. I think Notre Dame was the only team that really moved the ball running it against them, and they had just a couple long runs. But overall, I'm impressed by what I'm seeing from Kurt Cignetti's squad. They could be legit. I I don't want to say I need to see more because that was pretty convincing, but I'm gonna have to see a little bit more. That sounds ridiculous to even say that, but Illinois could totally be a complete fraud. We don't know yet. It's super early in the season. I think we're past the point of lessons from last fall, so I don't really have a place to tie that in here, but it's still early. Got to be careful. Narratives change fast. Moving on to Auburn at Oklahoma. OU passes another big test here, but I think that test might have been graded by a teacher that got bribed.
Possibility.
There's a chance. If we actually had any listeners or any traction or any say in anything, I wouldn't be allowed to say that. But since we don't have that many people that listen to this podcast, I can kind of say whatever I want about officiating. I thought it was really sloppy. Um, Inconsistent calls. I've already noticed all season from referees with the catch no catch ruling. Just to see them miss a blatant unsportsmanlike conduct penalty from Oklahoma, I wasn't really convinced that that was even a real rule until I looked it up. It is. You cannot fake sub out a player and then throw him the ball and score a touchdown when nobody guards him. It's a different code of conduct for unsportsmanlike penalties. They came out with that rule. I don't know exactly when it was recent, but Ole Miss exploited that rule against Texas A&M a couple years ago. I think it might have been 23. Is it 23 or 21? We exploited that rule against A&M. I think it was 23. We threw a touchdown to Jordan Watkins doing the same play, and it got clipped all over ESPN. And people were like, that was such a cool play design by Ole Miss. Wow, Lane Kiffin's so smart. And then as soon as Brent Venables does it, what a cheater. You deserve to win the football game. This is ridiculous. Well, guess what? OU still won the game. They won by 7. It made a big difference. But Ole Miss, I'm pretty sure only won the game that they won by 7 points as well. So that made a big difference. I think that there's a lot of weight on these officiating crews to make the right call in the moment, and sometimes they screw up. They're humans; they're not perfect. But man, They missed a lot of calls in this game. That was the biggest one, so we won't get too into it. But the catch no catch rulings that I've been seeing have been bad. Um, Showed up in the LSU game in week 1 against Clemson. Had another game that I saw. I can't remember exactly. It was a South Carolina Virginia Tech game. Nick Harbor had a clear touchdown catch in my eyes, and it just, according to the officials, wasn't enough to maintain possession. But I'm just seeing a lot of inconsistency from the officiating staffs. It's just got to get better. I think that all this fogginess around the politics of refereeing in college football needs to stop. I think we need more clarity, just like we need more clarity on the AP poll and the voters and the Heisman poll and the Heisman voters. So that's enough for that soapbox about referees. Let's talk about the actual game that was played on the field. Still think Oklahoma's a better football team and probably deserved to win, but man, even though Auburn could not do anything to protect the quarterback and run the ball, they still had a chance. So I think that was the biggest takeaway for me is that Auburn's a good football team. I mean, they may have a terrible O line and Oklahoma may have a great defense, but Jackson Arnold gave them a chance to win this game.
Yeah, I actually came away from this game a little more impressed from what I saw out of Auburn because I knew Oklahoma was pretty good already. This game really didn't change my perception of them very much. Their offense, a little bit concerning that it hasn't taken off yet. You know, the whole thing with what's the running back they got from Cal?
Oh, Jaden
That is
Ott.
just yeah, Jade Knott.
Yeah.
Just I don't know what's going on with that. But the offense has been kind of mad. Defense is insane.
Their defense
Defense
is
is
legit.
just so good. But the fact that Auburn, despite the 10 sacks, was able to have a chance in this game. They had the ball, last possession down 5, obviously ended in safety, and that was the game. But the fact that they had a chance to win this game on the road against a defense like that, pretty impressive. And I'm curious to see what Auburn looks like the rest of the way this year.
Me too. I think this team has some real juice, some talent. I think Hugh Freeze, even if he doesn't have the greatest season this year, there's going to be some victories he can point to, be like, hey, don't fire me because look what I did there. We'll see. I don't know. That's a lot of faith in Hugh Freeze. But the last two things I want to point out about this game, um, John Mateer got hurt. He's having hand surgery. Um, I think there's a lot of people that are really sad about this and probably angry, unfortunately, because they probably bet on John Mateer in the preseason to win the Heisman.
Uh,
I'm not going to drop any names on who might have done that. But there's a lot of people that did it. So stuff happens that you can't control. That's why you have to be smart when you bet if you choose to do so. If you think you have the money to spend and you're going to bet it, just know it's not yours to bet in the first place. But if you're going to bet it, you don't have any control over the outcome. So regardless, John Mateer's injured. He's out for several weeks. We don't know how long. He could be back as soon as the Red River rivalry, which I'm assuming they're going to want him back for that game. He might not be. It might be November. We don't know. If it's November, they might be cooked. I don't know.
yeah, because that schedule is just an
It's brutal.
absolute animal. And it's crazy.
Michael Hawkins is the backup. He's played. He's proven. He's not incredible. We saw what South Carolina did to him last year. It was bad. It was really bad. So hopefully he's improved since last year, and they can kind of find some consistency out of him running the ball as well. But John Mateer's out. Hated to see that today, breaking in the news. I was really hoping he was going to Heisman. There's always a chance. We came up with a hypothetical that if he misses 2 weeks, he can miss a bye week in Kent State, play the rest of the season in stat pad, and he could still win it. I think he's the most valuable player in the country right now. So if that's what the award's based off of, then stats shouldn't matter too much when it's that close. But stats matter, unfortunately, with the Heisman voters. So even if he's the most valuable player in the country and they win a lot of games, if he gets hurt and misses 3 games, they won't give him the Heisman. But there's a scenario. We'll see what happens. The only other thing that I noticed that I thought was kind of strange about this game was that Oklahoma's inability to run the ball almost cost them the game. And we kind of just talked about that, but teams can win games and close them out because they run the ball well. That's the only thing I'm really scared about Oklahoma, other than their Heisman caliber quarterback now being hurt, is that they can't run the ball at all against decent teams. Period. They just can't. Even against bad teams, they struggled a little bit.
It's crazy how many teams have this problem right now.
It's weird. I think the biggest things I'm seeing from teams having like cohesive issues across the board is pass protection has been so bad all over college football, and people aren't running the ball well. So maybe it just boils down to offensive line play. I'm not going to hate on the offensive line groups just to do it. It might rely a lot more on play calling and how defenses are keying in. I'm not a college football coach. I'm not on the sideline for these games, but man, it's weird when you see a team as talented as Oklahoma is on defense and out wide and at quarterback, and they can't run the ball to close out a game. Ole Miss couldn't do that last year. That was the only difference between them being a probably 10 to 11 win team regular season and making the playoffs straight up. So you hate to see it from Oklahoma losing their quarterback, but I think the stretch in front of them is going to prove so much about their whole team chemistry and what Brett Venables has been able to do there. If they start winning games with a backup quarterback and no run game, I don't know what else to say about Oklahoma. I'm bought they might be a national champion if they bring back a decent running back and quarterback by the end of the season and find something there. But that's a tall order. We're gonna have to see that from them. But this game was a great game. Although Auburn couldn't play offensive line play that was safe for their quarterback to even be on the field, it was still a good game. So props to Auburn for staying in this one at Oklahoma. It's a really tough place to play. So Oklahoma passed another test. Worried about John Mateer. Hopefully he comes back soon. Texas Tech at Utah. I think after watching this game, it was super close for the first three quarters, and then Utah just lays an egg after we see Baron Morton leave the game with an injury. Will Hammond comes in and plays a ridiculous game as the backup quarterback for Texas Tech, and they win. Was it 34-10?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I picked Texas Tech in this game. I thought this team was more well rounded, but Utah is an extremely efficient team. I was kind of surprised from the output I saw from them. With this being at Utah and being a primetime big noon game, they just didn't play great. They didn't have their stuff.
All those early turnovers killed them.
Both teams played really sloppy in the beginning of the game. I didn't know who was going to win. Like, I legitimately was watching the first two quarters and I was like, anybody could win this game. And then Texas Tech was like, nah, we're just going to go ahead and blow them out with our backup quarterback. So that's what they do. And I like what I'm seeing from Texas Tech as a whole. They've got a good defensive line. They have great linebackers. Malcolm Rodriguez is an absolute stud. He's a beast. They've got a solid secondary. They run the ball very well. Their offensive line is dramatically improved from last year. They've got two good quarterbacks and two good running backs. Several receivers that they can pose a huge threat to defensively for any coordinator and team they go up against. They're not necessarily the most elite in any of those categories, but they're definitely one of the most well-rounded teams. So I think that they're probably up there in my top one or two teams to win the Big 12 right now. There's a really solid chance they win it all in the Big 12 and then move on to the playoffs. So I liked what I saw from them. I'm a little concerned about Utah, but I'm not going to overreact to this too much. Seeing a new quarterback late in the game can cause a swing sometimes if he plays well. We saw Trinidad Chambliss kind of do that against Kentucky. Like, I mean, we had already had the lead, I think, but it was still close. He comes in there, closes out the game for us. I mean, that was huge. The first time he ever came in the game, the defense didn't know how to prepare for him. They weren't supposed to see him that game. So stuff like that happens, but looks like Will Hammond had a way bigger impact on this game than I think people were expecting him to have.
Yeah, he was definitely impressive there in the fourth quarter. I could not believe that they ended up winning the game by that much because I was following it at the Ole Miss Tulane game. I saw that it was like 13-10 or something early in the fourth, and then checked my phone 30 minutes later and it's 34-10. I'm like, what happened? And then I just see Hammond's stats and just like, holy crap! Like, how?
Yeah, checking the box score for that game, I was just thinking of all the possibilities. Like, what happened here? How did this possibly happen? I saw the score. I hit the box score. I'm like, dang, Baron Morton must have been like throwing for like 400 yards
I
just
think you
out of
told
nowhere.
me the final score, and I was just shocked and went and looked. And
Yeah, I saw that he hadn't had any stats since the last time I checked. I was like, that's weird. And then I looked down and I see Will Hammond's like played a perfect fourth quarter and went ballistic. I was like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. So Texas Tech, a big mover in both of our polls. I'm probably a little too low on them, to be honest with you. I'm not huge on the merit and reward based polling system, so I still want to see a little bit more from Texas Tech. Um, First quarter of the season's in the books, so halfway through the season, I think I'll have a lot better feel for this team. Probably have them ranked a lot higher if they keep performing the way they're performing. Probably going to end up being my favorite to win the Big 12 as far as adapting predictions go, but was a great game as far as it being close and interesting, and then Texas Tech just blows it wide open at the end. So be on the lookout for Texas Tech. Utah still could cause some trouble with upsets, and technically isn't out of the race yet, but I think Texas Tech would beat this team on neutral field again, absolutely easily. So moving on, Michigan at Nebraska. We both picked this game. We had Michigan. I think that was probably a smart pick. I'm glad I didn't wager $50,000 on Nebraska to win this game, like some people might have done. Um, I just didn't believe in Nebraska. I know you really didn't either. I think this is the same old Nebraska we're used to seeing. They look competitive, but this game was way closer than it actually was
You
as far
mean
as the
way
score.
more of a blowout than it actually was?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, brain fart. It's late, but yeah, I think this game wasn't near as close as the score indicated. Michigan was clearly the better football team. They barely even had to throw a football against Nebraska. With this being a home game to Nebraska, and you have a seemingly one-dimensional Michigan team coming in and playing you in Lincoln, you just gotta win. At some point, you gotta win one of these games.
I mean, Underwood barely had to do anything, and they scored 30 points.
Yeah, Justice Haynes is a beast, by the way. He's going to be what makes this Michigan team roll in games that they win. And if people shut him down, probably be the reason they lose because he's their best player. I think hands down on both sides of the ball, he's their best player. Nick Saban was not lying. He's an incredible football player. He's going to rise up draft boards throughout the end of the season. I don't even know if he's going to the draft this year. He may stay for another year. I saw something about that, but anyway, he's incredible. I think Ole Miss tried to recruit him. Looks like we missed big on him, but we got Kawan Lacey, so I think we'll be okay. Same old Nebraska. Sucks for Matt Rule that he couldn't get a big win, but Michigan continues to roll. Biff Poggi has another game. I think he still gets to coach, so
No,
signature win
that's
for
it.
him. That was it.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately,
I thought he had another one.
no.
But was he 2-0 in the games he
2 and
coached?
0, Biff Hoagie.
Sharon Moore did the same thing, I'm pretty sure. So I mean, maybe Biff Poggi gets a head coaching opportunity somewhere. We'll see. We had an opening at Oklahoma State. He seems like a kind of guy that could coach Oklahoma State. I don't know, throwing that out there, but probably won't happen. So moving on, South Carolina, Missouri. I had South Carolina as one of my dogs, and that was the biggest line I think I put as one of my dogs for last week. I think the biggest thing I keyed in on with this matchup was if Norris is healthy and they are able to run the ball with him, being the difference maker that he is running the ball, and he finds his passing game, this game will be close, or South Carolina will win outright. Missouri completely shut down the run game. Will they have like negative total yards running the ball?
-9 yards on the
Yeah,
ground.
that's not going to cut it in any game at all. And Lenore was a non-factor running the ball. He was under pressure the whole night, and he still threw for 300 yards. So I think he's still the best player on their team by a large margin. Dylan Stewart's right behind him, but man, Lenoris is such a big deal for this team. If he goes down, they're cooked. I hate to say it, but they're cooked. He cannot get hurt.
I don't think they make a bowl game if he gets hurt or something.
Absolutely not. If he's not playing in that game, Missouri wins in a blowout. And that was a 6 point game going into the final drive. Like at Missouri,
It was
a
tight the
6 point
whole
game.
way.
It was tight. I really thought South Carolina was going to go down and win it. They just had so many unforced errors. I just kept being like, okay, the offensive line will protect them for a second, or they'll run the ball, or they won't get a terrible penalty on third and short. It just kept happening. Every time they got in the red zone, penalty, penalty, sack, penalty, sack. It was just like, okay, if you don't want to win the football game, you can hang up your helmets and leave. Like, if you're going to get down in the red zone and leave with no points, might as well just hang it up. But man, Lenore's played his heart out in this game, so it sucked to see them lose. Even though I picked them as my dogs, I wasn't really confident about this game. I just felt like if Lenore's played well and they ran the ball, they had the best chance to win out of all my dogs. They did not really prove me right in that department, but I think Lenore's is the only steady piece on this team. Got to give credit to the winners, though. Missouri looked really good. There was a little inconsistency with Bo Pribula, but overall, he played great. In my opinion, against a solid defense. And their run game is ridiculous. Ahmad Hardy absolutely is all the hype that he was getting. He's a beast. I think he leads the nation in broken tackles. You just can't replace that. Like I think Quinshawn Judkins, his freshman year at Ole Miss, led the nation in broken tackles. He ran for like 1,500 yards as a freshman. Ahmad Hardy's a sophomore, by the way. So he'll be back next year, unless he transfers, which I don't think he will after seeing how he's producing. He's probably going to be in the Heisman conversation, at least in the top 15 very soon, if he's not already, maybe top 10. Missouri just needs to keep winning football games. He will be close to that 1,500-yard mark or higher again this season with Missouri. The stretch run game with Missouri is so hard to stop when you got guys like that. Even if you steal the edge, they can break tackles and they can beat you. That's just so hard to stop. And then they pull out a play action pass, and Bo Pribula's got wheels. So, I mean, they roll him out on a play action stretch play. I mean, you got playmakers out wide. There's just so much you got to look at with this offense that causes so many issues for defensive coordinators. Missouri looked really good. I definitely think we missed on how good this team probably could have been. I know a lot of Missouri fans are really high on their team. They might have been the only people who thought that Missouri was going to be legit this year. They still got more to prove against higher up competition, but they look really solid.
Yeah, I didn't really come away from this game for them thinking that they were that much better than I thought before after the Kansas game. That game impressed me a good bit, even though it was kind of fluky that it was close there with Kansas. But I think this is a really good top 20, borderline top 15 football team, and their schedule sets up pretty good. So watch out for them later on.
Yeah, and what's funny to me is that they won 10 games last year, and I still think this team's better and might not win 10 games.
This team, I think, is significantly better than last year.
Yeah, that's so weird with how scheduling is that a team could improve, and just because their schedule's so hard, they could miss a chance at the playoffs. Like, I feel like every SEC team could make an argument that their schedule is so much harder than the Big 12 teams and the ACC teams that they're having to play ranked teams pretty much every week. And keep in mind, the Big Ten has great teams, but at the bottom, I'm sorry, Northwestern conference game, that's a bye week, as far as I'm concerned. If you're a top 20 team, Northwestern is
If
horrible.
you're a top 50 team, that's a bye week.
Yeah, Wisconsin is a joke. This
I
season
cannot
specifically,
believe how bad they are.
I never thought I would see a Luke Fickle coach team be this bad, especially at Wisconsin. They're horrible. Rutgers is not very good either. There's other teams.
UCLA,
Oh my gosh,
best example.
how could I have forgotten? Just the
The
worst.
bottom tier of the other Power Four conferences are so bad.
Yeah,
It is
Kentucky's
unbelievable.
bad at football, but they would beat probably all of those teams by a
They
touchdown.
beat the bottom quarter of the Big Ten.
So if that doesn't tell you anything, Kentucky might be the only bad team in the SEC this year, in my opinion. I know Arkansas just lost to Memphis. They should have won. It was a road game against probably the best group of five team that we're seeing right now. That's not a bad loss if you're supposed to go 4 or 5 wins anyway. So, granted, I had Arkansas going 4-8 at the beginning of the season. I had them beating Memphis though. I still think they're probably going to be around that 4 to 5 win territory, but they're better than I thought they were. They're a better team, and I still think they're going to probably finish around the same. So it's so strange how college football works now. But man, the SEC's loaded. We're not homers. We're just realistic. If you can't see that, maybe just go take a look at the worst teams in the ACC and the Big Ten. Compare them to the worst teams in the SEC, and think who's going to win if they play neutral site. Heck, who's going to win if they have home field advantage? It still would take Kentucky if they didn't have home field advantage over several of those teams, and they suck.
That's
So
why we need to do a Big Ten SEC challenge like we have in basketball. The SEC plays the ACC in basketball for a challenge. We need Big Ten SEC in
that would be
football.
so
That would
much
be
fun.
just great.
I think you could probably parcel out the I mean, this could turn ugly really fast. You could parcel out the preseason favorites, just by record and by overall ranking, maybe through some power ranking metric. Which again, we already established preseason rankings don't matter, but you could probably compartmentalize teams into tiers and then have them play the tiers in the other leagues
That's what basketball does, I'm pretty sure.
and just see what happens. I mean, heck, you're gonna have teams that blow out other teams because they're way better than they're supposed to be, but that's just sports. So I think that would be cool. I'd love to see something like that. If we're gonna do all this conference alignment BS, why can't we have a conference challenge? Like, come on.
It would finally shut up all the debates about which conference is better than which.
So sick of those. I know that doesn't matter to coaches and it kind of doesn't matter to players, but I'm sick of it. I would love to see some of this sorted out on the field, and it does if teams actually schedule good non-conference games, but usually they're not. They don't align similarly. So that's enough about that. I think we were just talking about South Carolina, Missouri. That took a while. That game was pretty tight down to the end. I think Missouri kicked the field goal to ice the game, won by 9, 29-20. Missouri looks good. South Carolina's got a lot to work on. Moving on, Arkansas at Memphis. We just kind of hinted at this one. Arkansas blew it. They fumbled with a go-ahead field goal opportunity to win the game. That really sucks. Sam Pittman needed to win this game. I'm shocked we haven't heard rumors of him being fired yet. And to be fair, Memphis is a great team for what it's worth in the group of five. So this isn't one of those games where it's like, oh, he absolutely should be fired. It's just how much longer are Arkansas fans going to put up with being very below average to mediocre? They could be a great team if they recruited any better. They've recruited homegrown talent. They've found transfers that nobody wanted, and they built a solid roster. I didn't think they had it. I thought Taylon Green might be the only decent player on this team returning this year. That is not true. They got a steal in Omega Blake, and their running back has been really solid, averaging like over 7 yards a carry. I mean, they got some steals. And I think that despite the fact they weren't able to recruit at a high level, they found good players and they've been competitive in pretty much every game. They've got Notre Dame, coming up. So who knows what's going to happen there? They could win and Sam Pittman could keep his job. They could lose and he could get fired, or they keep him. I don't know. But disappointing loss for Arkansas. Big win for Memphis. This is huge for a Group of Five. Playoff implications. But I don't have too many takeaways from this game, to be honest with you, other than that Memphis might be a legitimate Group of Five contender. That's about it.
Arkansas just doesn't know how to win. They just don't know how to win football games. I mean, two fumbles at the end of games, and you had a good chance to win both of them. Just it's just the same old crap that's been happening ever since that one good year they ever then went 9-4. It's just been downhill since then.
Yeah, and that team was ridiculous. That Arkansas team was so frustrating to play against. But I think the one thing that I've had pointed out to me as an Ole Miss fan was that we probably should have lost to Arkansas. I mean, we had them at home and we had the lead, but they were definitely going to score a touchdown if they didn't fumble. Everyone in the stadium knew it. They're like, crap. Arkansas is
You
going to
thought
drive
it
down the
was
field.
over.
Oh, I told you, I was
I
like,
was trying to tell you, like, hey, have hope. Like, what happened last week with
dude,
State Arizona State? Like, something could happen
I
here.
was just so sure that it was over. I was like, yeah, we haven't stopped anybody all day. We're not going to stop them now. Sure enough, they drive all the way down the field. And you said that to me, and I was like, well, the only way anything changes now is if we get a turnover. I was like, because a sack's not going to do it. They already proved that 3rd and 19 doesn't matter. They can just score a touchdown. So, sure enough, TJ Daugherty comes up with the lone huge play he had all game after dropping like 2 interceptions. I won't hate on him too much. He really did play well overall, but he had some drops. He gets the fumble. We win the game. I think that it's really hard to say you shoulda, woulda if you didn't. And Arkansas definitely could have won this game. Maybe should have, but they didn't. So at the end of the day, Ole Miss got more stops, and they made the big play when it mattered. But Arkansas's got a lot of work to do. I'm excited for the Notre Dame game. Unfortunately, these teams have multiple losses already, so it's not a huge matchup, but still would be a huge upset if Arkansas beats Notre Dame. Moving on, biggest upset last week, I think, from what I remember, Syracuse at Clemson. Clemson is down bad right now. I don't know how else to say it. Dabo is. I'm never going to say in trouble because the fact that he could be fired just doesn't make sense to me unless he completely quits coaching and just kind of hangs around and farts around in the facilities. He's not going to get fired. He may leave though. This is bad. He's got all of his homegrown players that he recruited. He's not utilized the transfer portal, and Syracuse comes in your building and
Waxes
absolutely
you.
waxes you.
Yeah.
I mean, it just was. It wasn't close. I mean, they started off. You got 10 points before Clemson touched the football. That's for starters. I mean, anytime you start out with a 10-point lead in the first quarter, you've got a pretty good chance to hold on to it, statistically speaking. They just kept piling on. It was like 24-7 at one point. And Syracuse had a little bit of a tough stretch. They kept piling on, and Jelly gets hurt. Unfortunately, he's out for the season. Hate to see that. He was one of the nation's top leading passers. He was incredible. Huge, huge play from him all season so far. I think we thought Ricky Collins was going to be the starter. We didn't even really know he was in contention. And he ended up being the starter. He's been one of the best quarterbacks we've seen all season. Now he's hurt, unfortunately. But now it's time for Ricky Collins to come and play. So he's getting his chance finally. He threw a touchdown in this game. He might be good. Very limited sample size, but we counted out Syracuse preseason. Saw the guys they lost. Lost to Quint Allen, running back, really good player. Lost to Rondé Gadsden to the Chargers, really good tight end. Lost Kyle McCord to the NFL. I don't think he's stuck on a roster, but got drafted by the Eagles, I'm pretty sure. And then they also lost Trevor Pena, wide receiver at Penn State. All of those guys were core offensive players. So I just told myself, I was like, no, this team cannot recruit. They cannot find players in the portal that can match the production they had last year. Don't see quarterback play being a huge deal for them. So 5-7. Slap it on there. That's what I did. And sure enough, they've already beaten Clemson. And I know Clemson's been a disappointment, but that's still a good win. They're a good football team. I think you said it earlier. I think Fran Brown's proved enough. They are a winning program. They're not a bottom feeder in the ACC right now. They may not have the talent that these other teams have, but they are absolutely a giant killer in the ACC right now. So yeah, I like what I'm seeing from them. Not like what I'm seeing from Clemson. They still have some fire on offense. It's not a lot though. It's not enough to win you football games if you can't run the ball consistently and your defense is garbage. So Clemson's gonna have to figure some stuff out. Thankfully, they have 8 games left in the season to right the ship. I think Dabo kind of already said it. They're not going to win the national championship this year. Clemson fans already know that. He knows that. The players know that. but they still have a whole 8 games of regular season football and probably a ninth in postseason if they finish well to cap off this season right and prove that they're still a at least upper tier team in the ACC and that their process is not a joke.
What would it take for them to be able to prove that undefeated from here on out?
So they're 1-3. If they can rattle off an 8-win season, which means they got to win 7 games and only lose one more. I mean, even if they win a bowl game and they had 8 wins, I wouldn't be totally unimpressed. I would still think there's something there. To go on any sort of winning streak like that, you got to have something. I think that a win streak of 7 to 8 wins this season, or at least just finding 7 or 8 more wins this season, would be good enough. But that's not up to Dabo's standard. That's not up to Clemson's standard. So it's going to be a disappointment from here on out.
According to Dabo, they should have no standards.
Yeah, he did say that, which
Really
I thought was
weird
crazy.
part of that.
So I think that there's a lot of emotions going on around that team. And granted, Dabo's one of the best coaches that college football has had in the past decade. But at a certain point, the process, when it starts to change and you don't have an answer for what that process is going to look like with the transfer portal, he's kind of just fallen out of, I guess, just the language of college football, if that makes any sense. He's not fluent in this current language that college football has found itself in. He's not bilingual. He's not fluent. He's kind of lost. He's like the
He's
project manager that's got to manage a project with a bunch of people that don't speak his language, and he's trying to tell them, "Hey, I really need you guys to prepare this fascia board," and they're like, "We don't speak English. You're gonna have to speak our language here." I don't know if he's speaking that language to the recruits, which is mainly money, unfortunately. And he's not willing to give that to transfer players. So we may see him bail out on college football like Nick Saban did. I don't know. We might see that, but I think he plans on either sticking around if they'll keep him, or if they tell him, hey, we're ready to move on, they'll peacefully part ways and he'll go coach somewhere else. But they just got to pick it up. It's
they
not like
still have to play SMU, Florida State, Louisville, and South Carolina.
I think they could win 2 or 3 of those games if they start playing better. But right now, I don't know that I'd pick them outright in more than one of those games. So not looking too great for Clemson. Moving on, SMU at TCU. SMU's defense is absolutely horrific. They fell off massively from last year. Lost a bunch of key players, which always stings. But they got lit up 2 weeks in a row against Baylor and against TCU. I mean, I guess it went 2 weeks in a row. They played Missouri State and they played that game close. But that's 2 out of the last 3 weeks they got lit up by other teams in their conference with good quarterback play. I don't see that changing. Kevin Jennings is still the same player. He might be even better passer than he was last year. But this team as a whole, they're just not going to be good enough to win big games this year. They may pull off some upsets, but I don't think Kevin Jennings is going to be able to carry this team to anything important. Josh Hoover's legit, though. That's
So
for
good.
sure. He's been incredible. He's proving me right every game he steps onto the field. He went absolutely stupid. Eric McAllister went absolutely stupid for TCU at wide receiver. Over 200 yards and several touchdowns. Probably the best wide receiver performance of the year so far. He's been a beast. This TCU team is going to cause some real issues in the Big 12, which I figured was going to be the case. We're about to preview their game coming up. It's a huge one in Big 12 title implications. So we'll get to that. Overall, TCU let SMU hang around for a little while. Finally broke away. I think they had the key interception at some point, and Josh Hoover just kept throwing dimes. So that was the difference here. Moving on, Arizona State at Baylor. This was a tight game. Very tight game. Came down to the wire. Arizona State pulls away and gets a signature W to start the season after an unimpressive loss at Mississippi State. A little bit of a letdown game for them. I think Arizona State's still a good team. Baylor's a little bit too one-dimensional with their run game. Bryson Washington's a beast, but he's all they got. No quarterback run game, no backups. They lost Dawson Pendergrass. I believe he went to the transfer portal. That was a huge loss for them. 1-2 punch was really good last year. But losing Pendergrass and having to rely solely on Washington has probably hurt this team a little more than I guess the fans and the coaching staff were wanting that to be the case. I think they wanted hope that Bryson Washington would be the guy and could carry them running the ball, but he can't run the ball every single time you need somebody to move it. You either need a quarterback runner or you need another guy that can sub in. They don't have it. So that to me looks like the biggest hole in this team, other than their secondary, which is terrible. Arizona State's well rounded. I thought this team showed a lot of grit and toughness. They've got some playmakers. They're not elite really anywhere to me, but I think that they suffice at pretty much all positions on the field. And play calling's been good, so I still have hope for this team to be solid and probably make a run at having a chance for the Big 12 title. But that's really all I saw in this game. It was a good conference game. Baylor kind of needed a win here, didn't get it. So, any thoughts on that one, Landon?
Arizona State just reminded me a lot of them early season last year. They looked like a solid team early last year, but had some questionable losses and then just got hot and took off. Now, they did have Scadaboo last year, obviously, that was the main piece in helping them do that. And they haven't had anybody step up like that this year. But if Jordan Tyson can get going really good and one of those running backs, watch out for them to do something similar to last season.
Yeah, I think that profiles similarly to that team. Um, Cam Scottaboo being not on this roster, it really hurts. He was a takeover player for them. Jordan Tyson's a great player. I don't think he's a takeover player necessarily because you can't get the ball to him enough for him to take over a game necessarily. If they feed him 15 targets a game, maybe, but teams are going to key in on that. I don't see that happening and being realistic. But they look good. Good win for Arizona State on the road to Baylor. Lastly, this might be two of them, probably two of the worst teams that we're previewing from this past week, but one of them showed up, one of them did not. We talked about this game. I think it was big for both teams. Whoever won probably was going to relegate the other team to some real mediocrity down the stretch. UCF gets a really solid win. I think it was like 34 to
9.
9. Ugh, gross score. Beats UNC with a home win. I think they're undefeated still.
3-0. Yeah.
I had them going 3-9. So
Mhm.
unless they go on a 9 game skid, they're most likely going to top what I had them at. I don't think they're incredible. I think Scott Frost has a long way to go with this team talent wise, but better than I thought they would be. UNC's rough. It's rough over there for the Tar Heels. I just don't know how bad it's going to get for Bill Belichick. I mean, not that it matters because it's his first season, but it's not looking good.
No, there's not a lot of talent on this roster. That's just the main thing. It's just there's not much there. Gio Lopez has been a massive disappointment. The offense has been terrible. Guess the defense hasn't been too awful. They were really bad against TCU actually, but yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Every aspect of this team sucks.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything about this team that makes me think, oh, there's hope. Uh, I know they have 2 wins, but man, I have a hard time finding a lot more on the schedule.
Maybe they have a
So
good kicker and punter, but then that's about it. I don't
I don't
know.
even know
Maybe
if they do, because I
they
mean,
might not.
we'll just have to see. They're going to be probably relying on both of those positions way too much down the stretch, unfortunately. So I think that wraps it up for the Week 4 preview.